Are we doing this? Really? Wait for it. Are we doing this? Wait for it. Pow!
What the fuck?
WTF.
And it's also, what the fuck?
What's wrong with me? It's time for WTF.
What the fuck?
With Marc Maron.
Okay, let's do this. What the fuckers? What the fuck buddies? What the fucking what the fuckstables? What the fuckaricans? What the fuckaholics? What the fuckamolins? What the fuck, Canadians? What the fuckanucks? All right, no. Now, stop. Stop. God. Stop it. Marc Maron, this is WTF. Thank you for listening. I appreciate all your input. A couple of things I want to say. I do have Donald Glover on the show today. I'm very excited to put that up. We had a great conversation. The other thing I want to say is that I know there are a lot of new listeners to WTF. I'm glad you found the podcast. There's a lot of them. There's like about 230 something. There's a lot of them. There are 50 that are available. The most recent 50 are available for free at all times on iTunes. You can subscribe there, download the episodes. But if you do not know this, if you get the app for iPod Touch, iPad, Droid, or your computer, you can stream every episode from the beginning. And there is some unique premium content on the apps. As a matter of fact, I am going to put up a bonus episode. It's a great one. It's an old live episode we did at Comics. It was only a premium for a long time. It's got Dave Attell, Bobby Kelly, Anthony Jeselnik, Amy Schumer, Joe DeRosa, Kurt Metzger. So if you get the app now, you will get that episode that has never been heard unless you bought it. That would be incentive for me. That live show with Attell was fucking hilarious. And that is an app premium, WTF. Enjoy that. So I know that since I talked to Donald Glover, not Glover, I know I say Glover because I'm an idiot sometimes. But since then, NBC has sort of put the show Community on a kind of limbo, on a hiatus. The rest of the season's episodes are going to air, and we don't know if they're going to get a fourth season. Now, this is the amazing thing about show business that is horrendous. You have a show, people that love that show, are loyal to that show, look forward to that show, but because it's not enough people for NBC, they're like, I don't know, you know what? It's not really doing well for us. The amount of our lives, I don't care what kind of business you are, but you are in. But do you ever think about how much of your life is defined by how much money you make for somebody else, or how much you facilitate making money for somebody else as you make money for yourself? Hey, I'm doing all right, but really my job hangs in the balance of their books. Yeah, we're doing a great thing here, and we're all paid pretty well, but when it comes right down to it, it doesn't matter if they're not making enough money off of this great thing we're doing. It's just horrendously frustrating to know that even with the outlets we have, technologically, and who knows what will ultimately happen, that it just comes down to this weird group decision based on numbers as to whether or not something great survives or doesn't. That's frustrating, and that's just a reality. And quite honestly, if everybody loves something, 99% of the time, it's shit. It's shallow. It's not provocative. That's just a real, unless it's like ice cream or something tangible. But in terms of media product, if something is so hypnotic and so generic or so broad that everybody likes it, how much can they really like it? It's got to be relatively disposable. But I feel bad that he's in this situation. But that happened recently. We talked to him a little bit ago, but it was a great talk. It was really one of the best conversations I've had on this show about a lot of different things. By the way, if I could get this in before I space it out, one of our sponsors today is Comedy Central. You can own Comedy Central's hit shit. Oh, sorry. You can own Comedy Central's hit show, Workaholics, on DVD. It's packed with bonus features and exclusive content. Pick up your copy today at cc.com/shop. Oh, that's the other thing about you only being validated in your life and allowed to work if you're making someone else or some other entity a lot of money. And they prefer that you do it as cheaply as possible. If you can make a company a lot of money by not spending anything, you're a fucking genius. That will determine that you work for a long time in whatever it is that are working in. Is if you can say, look, I'm making this thing and it costs nothing and everybody likes it. And just, the nature of disposable culture, that's starting to drive me a little fucking nuts again. The fact that nobody even expects things to be made with any quality. The fact that they buy stuff and they're like, it doesn't matter. I'll throw it away. It's cheap. It drives me nuts. I have dreams of things lasting forever. Maybe I'm a romantic, even if it's shoes. So I had a weird thing. It's not a weird thing, but it's been a long time since I've walked off stage and felt like I had been schooled somehow, or I had overestimated myself. I decided to go out and jam with a band. Someone asked me, Chris Porter, the comedian, he has a band. There's a couple other comics in it and a couple of musicians. And they do cover songs. It's a good time. It's just a good time band. But they were playing a gig where they do a little comedy show before, and then they jam. And they're real good. They're real tight. They do some Zeppelin. They do some Stones, some Faces, some Black Crows. And Chris is a great singer. And they said, they asked me if I wanted to sit in for a few songs. So I said, let me see your set list. They sent me the set list. I said, I can handle this stuff. I could certainly do Stay With Me. I could do Let It Bleed. I could do Statesboro Blues. And they said, you want to come over and rehearse for a couple hours? I'm like, yeah, that'd be fun. This is something I really need to do is get out and jam and have a good time. Cause I really want to, I like playing guitar, but as you know, I like playing guitar by myself in my garage with people I enjoy playing with, and they all exist on CD and they never judge me. And if it's not going well, I can just start the song over, and no one, Muddy Waters rarely says, Maron, where are you? What's going on? Stay on the beat. Neither is Jimi Hendrix or Jimmy Vaughn or Hubert Sumlin or, Jimmy Reed or Keith Richards. They never bust my balls about my playing. It's a very one-sided relationship, which I enjoy. So I go over and practice with these guys, and I have a good time. I bring one of my dirtier guitars because I thought that those were dirty songs, and I don't play that guitar live. No, doesn't matter. In the rehearsal, I had a great time, and I played well, and it was fun. It's fun to play with musicians that are good because you can't fuck up that much. So then the night of the performance comes, and I go out there. And all I'm thinking about, I got to do 15 minutes of comedy, and then they take a break, and then they play. And all I'm thinking about is, I just want to get up there. I want to get up there. I want to plug in. And it's not my amp, and I don't play out at all. I don't play with other people publicly. I've done it maybe twice in my life. And I'm waiting, and I'm just thinking, God, I really want this to go well. I want to get into a groove. I want to feel like I'm a guitar player who can play with other people. I'm just really excited and nervous. And generally, I don't know if you know this about me. A lot of you think I'm a self-centered, blabbermouth who can't shut up. But inside, for the most part, I'm pretty shy, and given a choice, I don't want to play lead guitar. I like to play rhythm guitar. I like to fade back a little bit. I like to be a little more subtle. I don't like to hit I don't like to hit anybody over the head with shit. That's really my nature. So they bring me up. And, I'm plugged into this amp, and it's really loud. It's louder than anything that I play in here. And I play loud sometimes, but now I got to fill a room. I'm playing with other people, and it's loud. And it scares me. I hit the chord, and I'm like, holy fuck. I've never heard myself this loud. Can everybody hear me? And then it's too dark on stage. I can't see my fingers. I fuck up the beginning of the first song. I do okay, but then I do okay on Let It Bleed, but I'm very self-conscious, and I can't stop looking at my fingers. And I must have looked terrified, which my girlfriend validated when I got off, that there was such a tension in my face that it didn't seem like there was much joy in it. And then I was off rhythm a little bit from what I could tell on Statesboro Blues. And in the middle of that, I'm like, I'm fucking up. And I got off stage, and I just felt horrible. And I walked out with my guitar and my girlfriend. I didn't even think I earned the blowjob, to be honest with you. I mean, that's the least that, when you play guitar on stage, that's what, you should get that if you have a woman that saw you. I didn't think I earned that. And I was beating myself up the whole way home. And I was like, I can't. But it was sort of a weird lesson for me, is that I know I'm okay, and I know that if I want to do what I did with them, I need to play with people. I need to practice. So there was a different point in my life where I would do that, and I'd be like, fuck it, I'm no good. I can't do this. I'm an idiot. As opposed to just think well, maybe you should do it more and get comfortable with that, with playing with other people, with practicing songs and all that. So I spent a good part of the ride home basically being a insecure creative person with my girlfriend Jessica saying, no, I thought it was good. I'm like, did you really though? Did you? I mean, come on. It kind of sucked. I kind of fucked up. I didn't hear it. I thought you sounded good. No, fuck that. I mean, I shouldn't even fucking, think I can play with people. No, I thought it sounded good. You looked a little nervous. Yeah, right? Right? Like, cause I couldn't stop looking at my finger. Like anything I could try to get out of her that would have been I was trying to guide her to the negativity. I wanted her to match my misery. It's one of those practical applications of misery loves company. And, cause I do that. People were saying it was fine. I'm like, and I'm trying to figure out from their voice how genuine that is. Cause I've been in there. I know when I don't do that good and people are like, yeah, man, you should really do this more. That's like a non-compliment. It's a polite way of saying it was okay. Whatever. I just had to come home and play all those songs with the bands that made those songs. And you know what? Ronnie Wood did not judge me. Rod Stewart didn't judge me. Bill and Charlie were fine with how I stayed on top of the rhythm. And, Dwayne Allman and I had a great jam session, which is weird because he's dead and he certainly didn't say anything. So I'm back in the garage, back at it. Garage guitar legend. That's me. We wish you a merry whatever it is you celebrate. We wish you a merry thing that you do once a year with lights or candles or weird outfits. We wish you a merry, silly day where you get presents and help our economy and a happy new thing. Today's show is sponsored in part by Pro Flowers. The mini Christmas tree sale has been extended. Extended another week, folks. The mini Christmas tree. I neglected to say that you can have these sent to people. This is a real little tree with little ornaments. It's very cute. I told you before, if you live in a small place, it's just Christmassy enough. It'll fit on a table. It'll fit next to your bed. It'll fit, you could probably fashion it into a hat of some kind if you'd like. But it's a sweet deal. And it's a sweet thing. But you can send them to people, and it is a nice holiday thing. You just go to proflowers.com and enter WTF when you click on the microphone in the top right corner to get a special discount. This offer has been extended, as I've said, for another week. You can get a Santa's Workshop mini Christmas tree for just $19.99. That's a live tree with free lights and 12 free wooden ornaments. It's cute. We wish you a merry. Get a tree for your table. You can also upgrade to larger ornaments with white lights for like $10 more. This is a live mini Christmas tree. You don't have to go to a parking lot and, wander around with your family or by yourself saying like, is this a good tree? Did I buy the right tree? And then get it into your car and get it home. It's like, oh, it's missing a chunk. The top isn't good. The star doesn't fit. Fuck, I got screwed. Go to proflowers.com and enter WTF when you click on the microphone and you'll get this discount on this cute little tree. You don't have to go to a parking lot. You don't have to haggle. Okay? This is a live mini Christmas tree. We're not talking about some fiberglass piece of crap or pipe cleaner looking things. It's a real tree. And here's how to get that mini Christmas tree for just $19.99. Call 1-800-PRO-FLOWERS, PRO Flowers, and mention WTF, or go to proflowers.com and click on that microphone in the top right corner and type in WTF. That's proflowers.com. Click on the microphone, type in WTF. And a happy thing that happens at the beginning of the thing. I'm sorry about the ants.
Oh, I got an ant problem too.
You do?
Yeah, it's bad.
I believe that my house is built on some sort of ancient ant colony. Where are yours showing up?
They everywhere. I don't even know how they were in the kitchen. I was like, okay, that makes sense. They probably came they came from the door, under the door, and then into the sink and was like eating all the shit in my sink. And so I cleaned that up. But they're downstairs, and I don't know how they got downstairs. And they're in my upstairs bath, and they won't go away from my upstairs bathroom. And there's nothing for them to eat in upstairs bathroom.
I think it's water.
Is it water? Like, do they need water that bad? Like,
I'm not clear what the hell it is, but I thought one night I had like a 5-inch thick line of ants and flying gnats moving across the ceiling in here. I don't know where they were going. They had an agenda. I was freaking out. I thought that they were termites, and that's the other thing I worry about.
Termites.
Well, you're a new homeowner.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the big thing. It's just like I just got a house, and they are just like, yeah, if it's termites, you're just fucked. Like there's just nothing. I mean, that's it. Like once they
think
get in,
about it, because this thing. How old is your house? You bought it in Silver Lake.
it's new.
It's a new place.
It's a new place,
so it
but-
can't have termites yet.
Well, it can't have termites yet, but like I've been fucked over. I mean, there's the living room is already sinking.
What are you talking about?
The living room's sinking.
Did you have it built, or you just bought it?
No, I just bought it. But there's two houses. They cleared this land. They put a house on top. That's my house and a house right next to it. They're mirror images of each other, and they're building one right below it.
Yeah.
And the mirror image one, a friend, like a girl moved in.
Yeah.
And she's like, my living room's sinking, and I'm talking to the people. Is yours sinking? And I was like, I don't know. And she came over. She's like, oh yeah. And it's sinking.
What does that mean? Like, how do you know your living room is sinking? The floor is falling in?
The floor is falling in. They put a leveler on it, and the bubbles all fucked up. And
Oh my fucking God.
But the thing is, like, oh, you can do that? You can just sell a house and no.
This is America. You can sell a house to someone who has no money. Are you kidding?
Yeah, that's right.
You think they're drawing lines at living room sinking?
Living room sinking?
They're like, oh, we got rid of that one. That guy's a sucker. Well, these celebrities are easy.
It wasn't even like a big house. Like, it's just, I wish if it was like a big like mansion-y house. Like, it's just a small fucking house. It's like I was like, oh, I just want it to be new so I don't have to worry about this shit. But of course,
I'm telling you, man. Once you got a house, it's all worry.
It's never done.
That's right. You have to learn just to accept that there's no finishing it.
Fucking. I don't have a yard, and the yard costs thousands of dollars to do. What?
What do you mean?
This is why my dad is always like upset and wanted me to like rake and shit. I was like, oh, you got to keep the outside nice.
Yeah, it's
or
all
people will get pissed. Like your neighbors will be like, because it's just a dirt pile, and I'm fine with a dirt pile. I'm never there.
Sure,
I'm touring.
Yeah,
but they're like, you got to clean up your dirt pile. And I'm just,
Donald Glover in the garage came over from. It's a nice day.
It's a very pretty day.
It's not that far a drive, right?
No, I'm not from Silver Lake, no.
So you're not home a lot. What are you touring with? Are you touring with comedy or with Childish Gambino?
Oh, first of all, I'm amazed you know Childish Gambino. Like, I didn't even think you would even.
Well, I don't do a lot of research, but I mean, I remember we talked about this the first time I talked about it, or somebody told me about it, that you've got, this musical thing. Now, when you hear a comic's doing a musical thing, you're like, well, is it a funny thing? I mean, the name's funny.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what is it? And then I watch about 5 minutes of you on stage with your band, and I realize, like, holy fuck, he's serious. He's seriously doing a music thing.
I went to the Montreal Comedy Festival, and then, like, for the Funny or Die party, they were like, hey, let's have Childish Gambino. And there is nothing. Like, first of all, I don't know what gave me the fucking balls to do that. I was like, I'm surrounded by comedians doing actual rap.
You mean to go up and sing?
Well,
or to
yeah,
rap?
well, rap and sing. Yeah, I do sing too, but like, and not have it be a bit. Like, comedians are like Chelsea Peretti, like, fucking ripped into me, man.
She did?
I mean, she likes it, but
Yeah.
she's like, you know,
right. Well, there's not a great history of comics performing music. For those of you who have the Jamie Foxx record, perhaps the Eddie Murphy record.
Eddie Murphy. They're all classics.
Well, I think that what I see in you is you're pretty, shiny and new, and you have seemingly unbounding talent, and somehow or another you've mustered up the courage to use it in a lot of different ways.
Well, it took me like 8 years to actually be like, okay, I'm actually doing this, because I knew people were gonna
singing
what the fuck?
or rapping.
Yeah, that shit. Like, because I've been doing music since way before comedy.
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I was like, this was the dream.
But I was like, comedy, you can always be like, I was fucking around.
Oh, yeah, with comedy. Like, comedy really, if you think about it, is almost a default. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a funny guy, you're like, that's easy. Or not easy as a job, but it doesn't, once you figure out comedy, it doesn't take a lot of work, and you know how to express yourself and be vulnerable, but still be funny.
Yeah.
But music, you're all fucking out there.
You're out there. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't, because you really do have, and you have to keep that persona. That's the thing. Like Like, I was that Patton Oswalt joke. He's just like, you know, like, he said it must be hard to be Lenny Kravitz because, like, you can't just go to the store and get milk. You just have to put on the bamboo vest. He's like, you have to be Lenny Kravitz all the fucking time.
He looks like he loves being Lenny Kravitz. Lenny doesn't
he doesn't look like he's like, oh, he's like, oh, where's my bamboo vest? I woke up.
Yeah, he's never leaving the house going, God damn it, why do I have to be Lenny Kravitz today? But, you know, I like Lenny. So wait, where did it all start out for you? I mean, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Stone Mountain, Georgia, but I was born actually out here. My dad was in the Air Force.
So Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Yeah.
And you grew up there.
Yeah.
And so you were born here. Your dad was stationed out here. We're in San Diego. Or?
He was stationed at Edwards Air Force Base, which is, I guess, like out by Mojave.
Uh-huh.
And then we moved to Atlanta because it was cheaper, and then we moved to Stone Mountain.
How far is that from Atlanta?
Stone Mountain is like southeast. Do you know what Stone Mountain is?
I know. I keep going to Cold Stone Creamery in my mind. So that has nothing to do with it.
No, well, Stone Mountain is this big piece. It's a pimple on the ass of the earth.
Yeah.
It's this big granite hump. Like, there's no mountains in Georgia.
Oh, like, so it's an actual landmark.
It's an actual big granite hump. It's the only thing like it. For some reason, they think a glacier made it.
One piece of granite. So it's a giant rock.
It's a big, like, it's a mountain.
And people travel to it, and they're
they carved the Confederate leaders into the side.
Well, that must have been
It's
fun
a second.
thing.
This is the second. It's the second like rising of the KKK. That's where it is. That's what it's famous for. When the KKK restarted, they did it on top of that mountain, and there's the Confederate leaders on the side, and they have a laser show where they come to life at night during the summer.
Come on,
sounds like bullshit.
Who is it? Like Stonewall Jackson?
Stonewall Jackson. I always get Robert E. Lee and the other one confused.
No, Robert E. Lee was Confederate.
Yeah.
Ulysses Grant was
him.
So it's Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson and
some dude that wasn't as important. That people are just like, oh, but they needed another one. They can't just have two up there.
Another dude who wanted to keep people slaves. One of them.
It was rough in the summer though. That place is
what in terms of the visitors?
Yeah. I mean, like, we would go there as kids. I mean, like, because you go there as kids, you want to see a laser show, because the first half of the laser show is like, you know, like a cat chasing a mouse, and like, that don't impress me much. Like, it's like country, and it's like, oh, good. Yeah. And then they do the Confederate shit, and then it gets real. As like a young black kid, like, we got like beer cans thrown at us and shit. Like, it was
who let you do this? I mean, like, did your parents say, let's go to the laser show,
well,
not knowing that eventually it would turn into some sort of racist rally?
Well, my parents were very into, my mom mostly was like into like, fuck them.
Oh, so we'll
show
them.
Yeah, she was like, like, we're going, where family is going.
That's right.
We did that all the time. Like,
in Georgia.
Yeah, like, it was like Lenox Mall, which is not like, not like Stone Mountain where it's like racist. It's not, but it was just like the white, you know, it's the white mall.
Yeah.
You know, it's not there's the black mall and the white mall.
There's a black mall?
Yeah, there's a black mall. There's a black mall here. You know.
Will you tell me where the black mall is?
The black mall, it's right off of Crenshaw. Like, it was like, over there.
Oh.
What's it called? Damn, it's like the black mall.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about, but I'm trying to picture the differences because I don't know that I've ever noticed whether or not I was in a black mall or not. I mean, what is?
Oh, you know, you definitely know. You're not gonna be like, oh,
malls are all shitty to me. Yeah, I know that.
They're all shitty.
Yeah, there's good malls and there's the rest of them.
Well, it's like porn. It's like most porn is pretty shitty, but you know the difference when you see black shitty porn and white shitty porn.
Yeah, I do know the difference. So that's how you grew up with a mom who was like, fuck them. Let's you know, we don't need to be treated like this.
Yeah, it was just like
did you feel a lot of racism though?
Yeah,
I mean, I have to assume like that's a stupid question. There's a Confederate mountain
looming at you with the Confederate leaders,
a KKK laser show, and I'm like asking like, so what was it difficult down there as a black guy?
It was okay. I mean, I was always the kind of kid. I don't like talking. It's funny. Because I never really liked talking about race. I was always the type of person who didn't want to get into it. I was just like, oh, let's just keep it. The older I got and the more shit I started doing, like music-wise and comedy-wise, it became a thing. Like, I never wanted to have stand-up be about race, but most of my stand-up is about race.
A thing in the sense that do you feel like it was put upon you or a responsibility or just that was the mold that had been laid out? It was important to you?
It became very important to me. Like, the more, and my friend was like, the more you try to pretend like it, the more you try and make it not a thing, it becomes a thing. You start to notice more and more, I think. Cause
really?
I always tried to just be like, oh, you know, I always didn't like Comic View. I never liked that shit. I never wanted to be like, you know, black people do this, white people, I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I always thought it was really lame. But I was like, oh no, the jokes are just lame. Like,
right.
There's the premise of just like, the idea of just like, there's this separate thing going on that people don't really notice is like when you watch Chappelle and shit like that, you're like, oh yeah, he really notices the things. Like, yeah, that feeling of, oh, if I'm dating a white chick, I gotta make sure she gets home, because I'm going to jail. If like is a true to God, like people think I see this online too. Like people thought I stole that joke, which is funny because they were like, Patrice O'Neal, you stole that. I stole that joke from Patrice O'Neal too. I was like, no, that's just something black dudes worry about. I legit, if I'm dating a white chick, I make sure she gets home.
Just because in your mind you're suspect.
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
because on some level,
I feel that way.
Culturally, it's reinforced.
I feel, yeah. I mean, I've definitely am terrified of
that. But
have
you dealt with that kind of suspicion before in reality?
Yeah, I've had, especially in Stone Mountain. I've had like.
Yeah, I mean, how old were you? How you grew up? You went to high school there and everything?
Yeah, everything was there.
What now? So how long did your old man stay in the military?
He wasn't there that long. I guess like when I was about 6, he was out of it.
And what, you got brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I got a ton.
Yeah.
My mom was my parents were foster parents, and we also had adopted kids, and my mom ran a daycare.
So I'm
the oldest.
You're the oldest of how many kids?
6.
Of biological sibs? Or?
No, it's me and my brother and my sister.
Yeah.
We're all biological, and then we adopted a brother and a sister.
Right.
And we have another girl, but like she wasn't adopted, but she had been with us forever. Like
a stray?
Yeah. Well, they call foster kids, but
okay.
You know what? Yeah, pretty much a stray.
You made it sound like, well, she showed up at the house, we started feeding her.
That's not that different. My mom loves doing that. Like she can't say no. She can't say no to kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you ended up with a household, and you had a daycare.
Yeah, there was a daycare in the garage. So there's like 13 kids. You know,
like a legal daycare, or just?
I mean, like it was illegal for a while. Then she got permits and stuff like that. And then my cousins would come over and feed them. Just like kids of every type, every color, every type. You know, kids, every fucked up background you can think of.
Well, how did were a lot of them troubled kids, or were
I mean like troubled kids. We had kids with HIV when like no one knew what HIV was.
Really?
Yeah.
And your mom was she connected to the state? So they would, you know, she was like in a sense that they would find her and she would volunteer to have these kids take care of them.
Well, my parents were like the head of the foster parent association for a while.
Okay.
So they got like the special cases, like they like if a kid like when we had a girl who a little girl who's like her father was in the drug game and like the gang just came in and just killed her mom and dad in front of her.
Oh my God.
And it was like all over the news and stuff. And like that night it was like,
yeah.
And then
Here you go.
Yeah,
good
like
luck
it was
with
like,
everything.
yeah, it was the big cases usually came to us. So I saw a lot of fucked up shit.
Wow. So what was now? How old were you when that was going on?
I was about, I guess, like 8 to like 14, 15.
So were you part of the caregiving thing? I guess you couldn't help it. I mean, you're playing.
I was,
with the
but
kids.
I gotta be honest, I did not want to be. Like it's hard as a kid. I feel like to like not be selfish.
It's hard as a grown up. Are you kidding?
And I mean, and I've talked about this before. Like we were Jehovah's Witness. We were raised Jehovah's Witness.
You were Jehovah's Witnesses too?
Yeah.
So you had to make those rounds?
Yeah, I was not.
You didn't have to go out with the watchtowers and.
My mom does that now.
Oh.
She found religion again. So my little brothers and sisters are like, help us.
Oh no!
So
they're trekking around, knocking on doors.
Knocking on doors.
Hi, can we talk to you a few minutes? But isn't that like there's no dancing and shit too, right?
It's a bunch of shit you can't do. You can't watch boxing. You can't watch really anything worldly. Is the worldly you can't really do. It's an evil place.
Really?
Yeah.
And you grew up with that?
Yeah.
But so you grew up in a house where you couldn't watch boxing, you couldn't dance, you couldn't do anything fun.
You can't.
So you were no girlfriends.
No girlfriends.
So you were just distracted. You just had a house full of kids that was constantly shit and feeding and crying and breaking up fights and
comedy.
Trying to find one.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the way it works. When people say don't do it, that's what you start to do. I wasn't around to watch The Simpsons, so I recorded every Simpsons episode. I had a talk voice, so I would audio record it and listen to it in my bed. And like everything my mom told me not to do, I ended up doing.
So you couldn't watch them, so you actually you would listen to them.
I would listen to them.
Where did you record them? When she wasn't watching?
I would turn on the TV and make it really low when she was upstairs, and then put the microphone up to it and just leave it there. And then I'd be like doing homework, and she'd be like, "Oh, he's doing homework," when actually I was recording The Simpsons. And then
How old were you when that was happening?
I guess I was like, I don't know, like 10, maybe 9.
And now what was the trajectory that carried you, like when you graduated high school? I mean, when did you start realizing that you were going to, manifest your talents?
I went to performing arts high school. My parents really wanted me to go
So that's
to that.
not Jehovah's Witnesses.
Here's the thing, like my parents weren't good Jehovah's Witnesses until lately.
Right.
Like, I think kids make it really hard to be religious.
Right.
Because you don't really...
You got to deal with them going, why?
Yeah, why?
Not?
Why not? Why?
Yeah.
Why? Because it really does fuck up a lot of things,
Yeah.
including marriages in general. But I guess...
Your folks are still married, though, right?
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for a while it didn't look like they were going to be.
but soldiered through.
But they soldiered through. I mean, like, I think there's a certain point where you find love again, but then for a while, I think, like, there's a lull in every marriage or relationship where you're like, let's just stay together because it's a lot easier.
Yeah, no, I find that happens with anybody. It seems monogamy is like relatively difficult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because what if you grow different? What if you get tired of each other? I mean, I've been through 2 marriages, but one where I got tired of somebody, and then the other where she got tired of me.
Do you think people are? Have you probably been asked this before? But do you think people are supposed to be together?
Well, I don't know if they're supposed to be. It's just like there's something about commitment and loyalty and trust, and that if you can, the real problem with it in the long run is it's like eventually you'll get to a point and you'll go, Jesus, man, life is short. Is this what I want for the rest of it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sad part. I mean, when you're younger, you're like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, we'll hang out, and maybe,
right.
But at some point, if you get to that place where you're like, oh no, like this is the way this is going to go.
Right.
It doesn't look like it's going to change much one way or the other. And I don't want to, I don't have much life. So I want to live. But a lot of people don't get to that point because they're like, feed the kid. Where is he? What time where do we got to be at 9?
Well, your life is about something else when you have a kid. That's why, I mean, like, I rap about it a lot and I joke about it because, like, I just don't, I saw every type of, like, I saw 16-year-olds have kids and it just ruins everything. Like, I'm not against kids. I'm just like, it just, like, your kids are not about, like, it ruined my parents' marriage for a little bit. It's just like, cause you're worried about other shit.
Right.
Like, it's just like, you gotta worry about these kids and like, so I don't, like, that's my biggest fear is getting.
You didn't have any siblings that got pregnant young?
Oh, no, thank God.
But
I think we're all like terrified.
In the foster kids and everything else?
Yeah, like all our foster kids, like all their parents are like, 5 years older than them. Like, that's it.
So that was a good lesson to learn.
No, I learned that real quick. It was
Kids
like,
will fuck
condoms,
up your life.
They will fuck up everything. They're the worst. They are. They just fuck up everything, man.
So that's the one thing you brought out of being brought up in a daycare / foster home was that use condoms.
Yeah, immediately. Like, if you really want to get your kid to be like safe and not have sex and shit like that, bring them to a foster home. Bring them to a foster home. Like, seriously, kids are awful. We had kids, weird ideas.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, what happened to you? I had a kid one night. There was one night a kid came in and he was just like there for like a night and he just like, we were laying there and like in the bunk beds and he goes, hey. I was like, what? He was like, let's rub butts. And I'm like, I guess I'm like, I don't know, 6? And I just didn't know what that meant. Like, it's just like, it wasn't like a scared thing where you're just like, as a kid, your brain is so open to new ideas because everything seems fucked up at that point. Like, you're like, oh, yeah, the sun comes out every day. Okay, that's a new idea, but whatever. And I was just like, I don't know what that means. He's like, yeah, let's rub. And I found out later, I was like, oh, he was molested. That's why he did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, but like at the time, you're just like, okay,
He just thought that was a way to communicate.
Yeah, that was just something you did at night.
Oh, you rub butts.
You rub butts and communicate at night.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that molester was very inspired either.
I know. I mean, maybe he was like trying to work it up. Maybe they thwarted him before he got to. Yeah,
that's right.
Right. Like, all I did was the butt rub.
Yeah, he was just at phase 1.
Phase 1 of the molesting.
That's horrible. Poor kid.
I know.
So you dealt with the sexually abused kids and everything, huh?
Man, I saw everything.
When you went to Performance Arts High School, where was that?
That was in Stone Mountain. That was in, I guess, like down.
Now, what was the racial breakdown of the area? I mean, where was it half and half or what?
It's Atlanta in general is mostly black. I'd say, but it's like
so it's close to Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Okay.
Like it's
a suburb.
The suburbs of Atlanta. Okay. Like the closer
I know
you get
Atlanta. Yeah.
It's like 66% black.
So what was when you went to Performance Art High School in Atlanta? What was it like?
It was mostly
black.
Black.
Like Fame? It was mostly black.
It was mostly black, which was interesting because it was like in a kind of like a white neighborhood. But like, yeah, it was mostly black. Most of the kids are there. It wasn't like Fame. It was just mostly like a lot of black males having to pretend they're straight. Like that was most. I mean, it was the only for interest. It was like, oh, it's good that they have a haven, because there's nowhere you can't be black and a male and gay in
anywhere.
Atlanta, anywhere hardly, but definitely not in Atlanta. Like it was rough.
Yeah. Well, so they were all in your mind, they were just closeted and comfortable because they could act the way they felt.
Well,
or they were,
it was just like I think it was like the only place where you could meet another black gay guy.
Oh shit!
And be okay. Like it's just like because the black community in Atlanta is so tied to church,
right?
That you can't be gay there. So it's just
right.
like,
well, you think that the community was like, well, he seems a little effeminate. Let's get him over.
Get him into porn. No, I think it's usually like I don't know. I feel like that's what the down low, right?
Yeah.
That's like.
Well, I mean, I don't. Yeah. I know it, but I mean, I'm not living it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Then I don't have any question. I don't have a question.
Right. So the down low plays into.
It's
this.
like huge in Atlanta. Like that. That's why they have such a high, like HIV rate there. Is because the gay dudes there just don't say they're gay. They're just like, oh yeah, I'm not gay. I just fuck dudes.
Yeah.
And I do it unprotected because it's not gay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a different world.
It's a different world.
That's planet fuck dudes.
Yeah. So it's actually good that they're able to go to form because like at least they're able to say I'm gay. And then they can like take the proper like steps as opposed to like, but I don't think that's why the people push. I think they were just like, oh, he's really good in this play,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's got a talent. Like,
well, what were you doing over there? I mean, was there a point were you ever on the precipice
of that? There was a point where I thought I was gay.
Yeah.
Only because like people kept saying I was. Like I always liked girls. Like I always right. I was always like, oh man, I jerked off so much.
Yeah.
To like what was it, White Palace, that movie with Susan Sarandon? Like, oh man, that was my thing in Tony Braxton videos. And I always liked girls, but it was just like I was
Susan
at a school.
Sarandon and Tony Braxton.
That was it. That was
good. That's good.
Those are good, right?
Yeah.
I still do Susan Sarandon.
Sure.
She's so gorgeous.
I think you might have a shot.
Yeah, she gets a divorce. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Reach out.
But I did because it was just like if you're. First of all, as a black male, if you like anything that's not like considered like quote unquote like street or hood, like someone's like, what's wrong?
Right.
But also I was like taking ballet because they forced you to take ballet in those class, and like I was just surrounded by other gay dudes. So, and people were just like, oh yeah, you're gay. And also the thing was everybody was okay with it there.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, it's okay, you're not ready to come out yet. So I was like, maybe I am.
Yeah.
So I like thought about it for a long time. And then, but
no.
I just, no.
What
really? Yeah.
That's very funny.
Off Susan Sarandon.
There you go. But it's very funny that because gay dudes, sometimes, I mean, I don't want to generalize, but if they, they will say that to you.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're around a lot of them, it's like, oh, you're just waiting.
Yeah.
You're not ready yet. If you need help, let me know. What was the curriculum like?
It was basically the same curriculum instead of like the extracurricular and the like PE, like I guess like physical, they would replace that with dance and whatever else you wanted, like so dance and art.
Were you into it?
I wasn't initially. My parents, I was supposed to go to this gifted school that my parents went, but I couldn't get in because it was already filled. So they were like, we don't want you going to the neighborhood school because it was shitty.
Right.
So you'll go to this one, which was in a better neighborhood, and I didn't like it, and I was getting picked on already, and so, like where I was.
For what?
For being like just people just call me. I was just a weird black. Not even a black. Like if I was white, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I was black and liked corn.
Yeah.
So kids just like picked on me. It was
really
weird. Yeah. I was just like
black kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the situation.
But white kids too.
Yeah.
Like that. I was like, it's just like what's wrong with you?
Did you ever come up against that situation where black kids were sort of like, why are you acting like that?
Absolutely. That was my whole existence. And like I felt like.
What were the primary outside of corn? What were the other criticisms? Like,
well, just like the obvious, like why do you talk white?
Yeah.
You don't have an accent.
Yeah.
My parents were like that.
Your parents said that to you?
Yeah, my parents kind of like, what's wrong with you? Eat your chicken. God damn it. No, my parents are from the north,
right?
So they didn't have a southern accent,
right?
But also they were very, like straight, like they didn't adopt, I guess, what some people consider like the black experience or culture. So they just, talk, I guess, like white, quote unquote. And I was always like, why you talk white? why do you dress white? I wouldn't have dressed that way, but my parents, they just take you to JCPenney outlet and just be like, this is what you're wearing,
right.
You know, kind of thing. And we were Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
So I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of things that I guess were connected to black culture. So I was just really messed up.
So you just took your mom's word for it?
Yeah, I just took my mom's word.
Just wear this general clothing. There'll be no baggy pants for you.
Wear this Arizona jeans that like.
Oh, that's hilarious. So you like were not even tapped in throughout most of your adolescence to black culture to even have like something to judge it against.
No, yeah,
that's amazing.
I didn't know.
You couldn't watch fucking TV?
No,
I wasn't fucking insane. It was probably life-saving. In some weird way, because like when I see you, like when I watch Community, which I love and I think you're hilarious on, and even just watching you perform music for a few minutes, you have a very sort of unfiltered talent thing going on. Like, you know, it's not hinged to black, it's not hinged to something I've seen before. You're just kind of electric, and you can sort of bring yourself to everything. Thanks. And I think that a lot of that might be attributed to the fact that you weren't cluttered. I mean, there's something about not being cluttered with pop culture for your entire adolescence that may have enabled you to find this broader identity.
I think it was probably a lot to do with that, but also like my dad was such a weirdo. My dad is like, I guess, like the original black nerd. Like he's just like, when we were kids, like all he would do was blast Prince and Kraftwerk and Funkadelic.
Oh my
that was
God.
it. So like I would love that.
Prince,
like
Kraftwerk, and Funkadelic.
That was it. Funkadelic was like his thing, like his escape. Because it's weird. Like
Kraftwerk is really the one. You know, one of these things is not like the other. But if you kind of think about it, you know, Funkadelic and Kraftwerk, not that.
No, they use the same synth sound.
Yeah.
But like he had the same thing as me. Like it was this weird thing where like, you know, everybody was just calling him a faggot all the time, but because he liked Kraftwerk as a black dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Black dudes call each other faggots when they're in their 40s too.
Yes, which is fucked up, right?
Oh no.
He's a yes, they do. But for weird reasons.
Yeah.
Like I feel
Kraftwerk.
like you have to work extra hard as a white dude to be called a faggot. Like,
hey, it depends where you're at. You know what I mean?
That's true.
There's
You're in
always
Boston. He's
yeah.
like, what? You like hot dogs? What are you, a faggot?
Yeah, there's always going to be the group of dudes that calls you a faggot.
Yeah, that's true.
Whoever, you know.
It depends.
Yeah.
But I wasn't my dad would expose me to that stuff, but also I wasn't I loved like the Muppets, which I was allowed to see, and Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
That was it. Like, so cartoons and shit.
When did you start realizing you were funny? After ballet? I mean, at some point in the middle of a ballet class, did you realize this is ridiculous?
This is ridiculous. No, I guess I was like 7th grade was like a really bad year for me. Like I was getting picked on a lot. That was the year right before I went to the performing arts high school.
Okay.
So I was still in my neighborhood school.
Yeah.
And I got picked on a lot, and I was really trying to fit in because I just didn't want to. I just hated going to school. Like sometimes I would pretend to be sick and stuff. Like
right.
I just hated it.
Yeah.
And towards the end of that year, I realized because I had nothing. Because a lot of being a high school kid is just like identifying like the music you're into and the TV you're watching, stuff like that. Because kids were talking about Living Color. And
right.
Like, oh, did you see that sketch? I used to pretend like, oh yeah, that was really funny. And then they'd be like, you didn't see it. You're Jehovah's Witness, you know, like that. So I realized, oh, they're always talking about that. Maybe if I'm funny. So towards the end of 7th grade, I started being funny.
Like on your own?
On my own.
Just to protect yourself.
Protect myself, and it worked. And that's what happened. And then like when I went to the performing arts high school, I was already like being funny. I started writing plays, like short plays. Like I would read like short plays, and I realized later, oh, those were just sketches.
Right.
But yeah, that's when it started happening.
That's fucking profoundly interesting to me that like all these kids were so tapped into, you know, what the comedy culture of the time was and talking about this, and you couldn't engage. So you're like, well, maybe if I just get funny, I'll get my own attention.
Yeah. I mean, and it was like that at home too.
Was that a conscious thing, or is that just something you figured out in retrospect?
No, it was conscious. Because I wanted attention also from my parents.
Right.
But they were always giving attention to
1,000 kids.
To the kids that
HIV kids.
That HIV, like a kid who was molested. It's like, oh,
yeah.
He kind of needs the attention a little bit more.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. Like you were put in the second. You were a second stringer because you had these charity kids all over the place,
and they got a bunch of shit too. Like they would get like gifts for Christmas and stuff.
Yeah.
From the state, and we were Jehovah's Witness, so we didn't get anything. So it just seemed like a layer upon layer of them getting everything and me not getting anything.
Oh, that's horrible to be put in a position to actually, be resentful of HIV kids.
Of HIV kids.
Yeah, I'm tired of these fucking...
Or just like you're sitting there like, I wish I had fucking HIV.
Yeah.
Then I could get a Power Ranger.
Yeah, these AIDS babies are taking my food.
These AIDS babies really got it made.
Oh, that's fucking horrendous.
Really got it made. Yeah.
I find this all fascinating because like I was one of those people when I first started seeing you around, I couldn't tell whether or not, you were like, cause I know you're doing stand up, but it didn't seem like that was the first thing you did.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a good stand up, but I mean, it seemed
wasn't.
like, yeah.
I started, literally the stand up thing started because we were doing improv and we were doing sketch. And then I moved to Long Island City in New York, and there was a place called the Creek in the Cave that was down the street. And I met the owner, Rebecca, and she was like, I like your Derek stuff. If you want to do anything here, we have a stage. And I was like,
what's the Derek stuff?
Derek comedy was like sketch comedy that had gotten.
All right, well, let's get to there from the performance arts. So you graduate.
I graduate.
And then you moved to New York.
Moved to New York. I was like, I got to get the fuck out of
But was your agenda like, I'm going to fucking be on SNL? What was the agenda?
I always wanted to do, I actually went to NYU for playwriting.
Oh, so you went to NYU?
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to go playwright. I got like a scholarship for the first year, and I was like, I'll figure out for the second year.
You got a scholarship from the Performance Art High School? For the work you did?
I got one, I wrote an essay, I got a couple of...
What was the essay on?
The essay was on, I think it was like a Coca-Cola, like I had to write about Coca-Cola in the arts or something.
Really?
Yeah, it was something.
Why that? How did you get...
Because Coca-Cola
I know, it's
is
in
from
Atlanta, yeah.
And they just give money to...
Oh, so it was a Coca-Cola scholarship?
Yeah, it was something like that, or I'm trying to remember what scholarship, but it wasn't a lot of money.
Oh, right.
But NYU...
Well, Coca-Cola gave you some money?
Some money.
Oh, that's all right.
That's all right. Wrote an essay.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to get out of Atlanta, and I was like, I'll be a playwright, because it was one of those things that a lot of people weren't doing, and they give you more money because no one's doing it.
Right.
So,
we got a few slots open.
Yeah. So no one's doing playwriting, so they'll give you a lot of money to do it.
And you hadn't written plays, really?
I had written plays in high school.
But those are sketches, we decided.
Yeah, they were like 5-minute plays about like dudes.
So you get into the playwriting program at NYU as an undergrad.
And then somebody was like, I literally was like, I was walking down the hall and someone was like, hey, you should audition for this Hammercast thing. The auditions are happening right now, which is a sketch group that was starting at NYU. And I was like, I was starved for friendship, so I was like, yeah, I'll do it with you. And I auditioned and I got in.
And who was in that? Anyone we know?
DC Pearson, who was in Derek Comedy.
And you did the movie with him?
Yeah, and Dominic Durkis, they were in it, and that's where we all met together. And
in Aubrey Plaza?
Aubrey Plaza was in the film department at Tisch, and we actually didn't know each other until later. But she Dan Ekman, who directed the film, was in classes with her and knew her. And
now, did you write any full-length plays?
Yeah. I wrote a really weird one. Actually, that was my thesis project.
Who were your guys, playwrights?
I like Tom Stoppard, but everybody does.
Yeah.
Tom Stoppard, David Ives. The guy who wrote Fences, August Wilson.
Yep.
And Edward Albee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I liked him.
So you were in it, like you were going to plays.
I'm gonna be a playwright. I'm going to plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you saw a lot of shitty plays.
I saw a lot of shit.
I was fascinated with playwriting. When I wrote a play when I was in college. I used to love Sam Shepard, and it always struck me like playwriting seemed like this free zone that there was a context to it, but you could do some pretty wild shit. Yeah. What was your play about, your thesis project?
Mine was based on a story that somebody had told me about Salvador Dali.
Yeah.
Was that Salvador Dali had a brother who was born before him.
Yeah.
Who died.
Yeah.
And then Salvador Dali was born, and he looked like just like him. So his parents were like, it's the same kid. So he grew up with this idea. His parents would dress him the same and be like, you can't die. We already had you. You can't die. So he grew up with this idea, you can't die. So I wrote this kind of horror play where there was a lynching that happened in the southern thing, and the boy's father put a curse on everybody in the town, so that the mothers would have these sons that would die when they were 8, and they would get pregnant again, and they would just keep having kids. So they were like 60, 70-year-old women having sons.
Wow.
And they would die every time they were 8.
Did you put it up?
Yeah, it was read. They had a reading.
You never produced it?
I never produced it.
Well, now that
because I was kind of over playwriting at that point. I just had to do it.
Well, it sounds like a pretty heady, interesting play. Maybe now with your celebrity and success, it's time to put that.
It's time
play
to put
up.
that play. It's kind of. I mean, it's not great.
What was it? What was it called?
I don't even remember. I don't even remember. Like, I mean, I liked the play. It was like,
well, that's
really,
like one of those things. Like, that sounds like a play. I mean, what are you going to do with that? I mean, it'd be an interesting movie. It almost sounds like a morality play or a story of some kind that's supposed to have some kind of
some sort of meaning.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
but that's the thing that everything in colleges, I think, when you make it, it's just kind of like, it feels like it should be a thing, but it's not. It's just like, oh, I followed this homeless dude around for a year.
Yeah.
What is it about? I don't know, but it feels heavy, right? You know?
But I'm not sure that's not the reality of it. I think that a lot of people are just full of shit, and some people get lucky and they all the stars align.
Right.
And he's a genius. And if you ask them, like, well, why'd you write that? Like, I don't know. It was fucking weird. They don't say that. They said, well, if you really look at the culture at that time, we were dealing with these schisms. Whatever.
That's true. I mean, like, I wanted to, with the play, I mean.
It wasn't funny, though.
There were some parts of it that got laughs, because, like, I really was, like, getting more in tune with comedy.
Like when the 70-year-old woman is like, not another one.
He was like, yeah, there's one part where he goes, here we go again, and he looks right into the play camera.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just wanted to do like weird stuff, but it worked out, I guess.
And a lot of times you do that for attention, right?
Yeah. I do a lot of shit attention.
But I mean, we all do, especially when you're arty. You're like, like, I don't know what it means. It's weird.
It's hard to do weird shit now.
Yeah, because usually it has to be funny.
Yeah.
Or else it's not gonna. You know what I mean? No one's gonna buy that bullshit. You know?
No.
So okay. So when you joined the sketch group, that's when you just started focusing on comedy.
Yeah, I joined the sketch group, and then I wrote. I think the turning point was like I wrote something called like Black Peter Pan, and I remember thinking like this isn't gonna do well, but I just thought it was like kind of weird and funny, and it was just like the idea of just like Peter Pan came in.
Yeah.
Wow, it's weird. I haven't thought about it in a long time. It's like, there's a lot of parallels to the Black Spider-Man thing. But like, he came in and immediately, like, they're judging him. They're like, well, how did you get in our house?
Right.
What do you do? He's like, why? He's like, immediately, like, it just changes everything.
The kids are nervous?
Yeah, the kids are nervous. Like, they're like, I don't remember. Like, it was just like this whole thing of like, yeah, if Peter Pan was black, would you really trust him as much? And like,
that's hilarious.
So I wrote that, and that changed everything, because like, people were like, oh, this is really funny. I could see this on SNL, and like I was like, oh, you can get paid to do comedy? Like that was
right.
I never had thought of that. So yeah, that was the turning point.
And did how did things change for you then?
I just started doing it like a ton. Like I went home and wrote every night. Like I was like obsessed with it, and then I ended up like directing the sketch group, and then we started making videos. Me, Dominic DC, and Meggie. And Dan Ekman, and we started making Derek videos on YouTube, and those got really popular. And then from that, I got the job on 30 Rock, and that's how it became.
That's interesting, because the only other person I talked to that had that same thing was Aubrey.
Yeah,
that there was this weird moment in entertainment history where everyone thought it was all going to the internet.
Yeah.
And people were spending money on the internet, and that didn't necessarily pan out. But in that moment, casting people and agents said, "Well, who's that guy?"
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
I was doing a lot of stuff on my own, and we were on YouTube and stuff like that. So like a lot of people were paying attention. It was weird. Everybody had this kind of like, I don't know, like this kind of weird. And I'm finding a lot of this is happening with my music career too, where they're like, there's something there,
right?
But we don't want to touch it until someone else wants to touch it.
Well, like, no one wants to take the blame.
No one wants to put their dick on the line.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth. And I get it. It's fair. Like for you to really push somebody, you have to really. That's why I give Tina Fey all this credit. She hired me, and she did not have to.
How did that come about though? She saw what you were doing on YouTube.
Owen Burke was my teacher at UCB. Owen Burke told Amy Poehler that I was like, oh, this guy's writing, and I heard you're looking for like a writer through the grapevine. And then Amy Poehler told Tina, like, yeah, this kid is writing. And I think it was also, I lived in New York already, and they didn't want to have to fly anybody else out for 30 Rock.
So you were just a writer?
Yeah. I was a writer who was already living in New York, and I think was just like young, and was writing.
But usually writers are sort of schlumpy, mostly Jewish.
Yeah, I think maybe.
And here, this bright, good-looking black kid. There was no talk of you being in the cast immediately.
I think Tina Fey just wanted. She's really good. I think she just knows like especially being at SNL, was just like, the room can't be just all Harvard dudes.
And Jews.
Yeah, I mean, and Jews. Jews, yeah, Harvard dudes and Jews.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a band I want to be in.
Yeah.
She always was like, she mixed it up a lot. And
right.
like the guys in that room were like, I think like a very diverse group. So I think she just wanted more diversity.
How long did you write on the show?
3 years.
Really?
Yeah, first 3.
Holy shit. So you were like just a comedy writer.
Yeah, that was it. I was happy, man. Like I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to be a comedy writer. I was like, oh, I wanted to write, and I was on this show that comedians respected.
Yeah.
And all these like guys who wrote on Frasier and stuff, all these shows were on there. And I was like, I'm a comedy writer. This is what I want.
So were you doing stand up at all yet?
I started doing stand up the second year because I was like, writing these long hours is like that. And
who got you into it? Like Judah or somebody? Who kind of brought you in?
I always liked watching Chris Rock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then one of the ways I got on 30 Rock was I did this Chris Rock internship at Comedy Central, and I got to meet him.
Right.
And he was talking about comedy, and with all my stuff, I always liked the truth stuff. And he was just like, yeah, he's like, if you tell the truth in a way that people aren't ready for, you'll always get a laugh. And that stuck with me. Like, it was like, it's true. Like, every time he
That's
talks,
interesting.
he was like, every time he talks, he was like a sermon. I was like, that whole niggers versus black people thing, I was like, amazing. Like, I was like, oh yeah, that's something that everybody kind of felt.
That was a career-defining bit.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the bit.
That was the bit. And it was just like, and it was something that I think people had thought, but was just afraid to do.
Well, I think what's interesting is like the people that thought it were black people.
Yeah.
I don't know that I think that was a whole new lens for white people. But I
really?
think, yeah, in a way. I think that what was really amazing about it was he was really talking about the black community, almost specifically for the black community in a way.
I mean, when he did it, I was just telling somebody that when he did it, he did it like the way my aunt did it.
Right.
Because my aunt would always be like, these fucking niggas at the bank, it fucking pissing. Like, she would just get so mad.
It was, I think it was
this frustrated thing of just like, I'm trying to do something good.
Yeah.
And you're bringing me down.
Right.
And I get lumped in with you guys.
Well, I think that's I think that was what made it a fucking amazing bit, was that it was something unspoken or understood in the black community. And I don't think that white people ever saw that struggle within the black community. And they're like, holy shit. They're sadly, part of their minds is like, they have problems with them too.
See, it's the same, which was his thing, which was made it funny. Like,
right. Well, that's the
he was like, I wish he's like, when he does like, man, I wish they'd let me join the Ku Klux Klan. I was like, that's such a like crazy thing to hear. But you're like, oh, I get that struggle of like trying to be like, we're trying to do something.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so did he have any part in you starting to do stand up other than inspiring you?
He just inspired me. I mean, no one.
How'd you do your first gigs though? Where'd you go up, and who was
Creek in the Cave? Like,
so you were just doing like a small run.
Literally was this thing of me, DC, and Dominic had done a little stand up, but like we were like, we can't do sketches because we do them online, and what's the point of doing them on stage? We can't do improv. We're already doing that UCB. We have this stage where no one's doing anything. Have you guys tried stand up before? Not really. Let's try stand up, and we'll host it every Sunday. And it really forced me to do like new material every Sunday because the same people would come.
And you do story style stand up.
Yeah. So I just started telling stories about when I was a kid, and it felt really freeing.
Yeah, well, I think that it's sort of fascinating because even me, that I think everybody has a strange expectation, like you said at the beginning of the interview, out of a black comic or a black voice.
Yeah.
And I think that the whole black nerd thing is legitimate, and it's been around for a while, but it was pretty small group.
Yeah.
Like, when you talk about your dad, it was like he was like one of the original black nerds. I mean, because I still have a moment where I'm like, I'm sort of surprised.
Yeah.
When you see a black nerd at a comic book convention or at the comic book store, you're like, oh, this is interesting. They're out there,
Yeah, it is a weird, and I didn't even think that was, I think that's the thing, like, I think black nerds see themselves differently until they get like a little older. Like, you just kind of realize, cause like, you're just you're like, oh, I'm the only kid at the Sufjan Stevens. I'm the only black kid at the Sufjan Stevens concert. Like, and you don't really think of it, cause like, a lot of black nerds are around a lot of white guys, cause like, it's just like, even in the improv, like comedy community, like improv, there are no black guys doing improv. I'm the only black guy I see at UCB doing improv all the time. Like, I say, there's one group of black guys, but even that is like, there's a group and they're all black, and that's a statement.
Yeah.
And it sucks because they're not trying to be a statement.
Right.
It's the same thing as like Obama. It's like,
right.
No matter what he does, he'll never be just a president.
Right.
He'll be a statement. And I think he gets that. And I think they get that when they're doing improv, but it's just like trying to move past that and be like, okay, now that we're past the statement of like, oh my God, this black person watches Archer. Like, can we do comedy now, you know?
Well, yeah, well, that's the whole thing about the color line in general is that, you know, that no matter how much lip service is paid to it, you know, not that some people like, I don't see, you know, black or white.
Yeah.
Culturally, there's no way not to, given where we come from.
Right.
And so when someone is actually acting that, you know, in a way that's just, you know, like a person or just an, you know, like, and there's no color identity to it.
Exactly.
People are like, I don't get it.
Yeah. It's like, I don't understand what's going on, which is such a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's so fucking weird. Yeah.
And you deal with that a lot.
Yeah, still now.
Why do you think there's no black improv actors? Well, I mean, there's got to be some, but in a general sense.
Honestly, because there's no exposure to it. Like, people think, like, I think a lot of people think, like, I think that's changing now, but a lot of people are like, oh, black people sell drugs and want to play basketball because that's in them. And it's like, no, it's because they're poor.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, all those racial things that usually come up it's money stuff. Like, always. It's always money stuff.
Right.
It's like, it's like black people think like black people, when people say like, I don't like black people, it's like, why? When they say the stuff, you're like, oh no, you don't like poor, shitty people.
Yeah.
Not that poor people are shitty,
right.
But poor people who do shitty stuff.
Right, who are driven into crime.
And driven into stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you don't like. It's like, if every black person you met was Will Smith, you're like, I fucking love black people. They're charming. They're tall. Oh man, they're rich. Like, that's the thing. It's all about money.
We live in a country that doesn't talk about class ever.
Ever, which is weird.
Yeah.
In Europe, it's always about class.
Well, yeah, well, that's the history of their politics, you know, but here, like, it's just never discussed. It's always race.
It's always race.
Yeah.
Which I loved going to Paris.
Yeah.
It was the first time they were like, oh, you're black and American?
Yeah.
Wow.
We love you.
It was American first. That's the thing. It was never, here it's always like, oh, black kid.
Yeah.
There, they were like, what are you? Are you Egyptian? Are you American?
Yeah.
Like that. I was like, I'm American. They're like, oh, they love black Americans over there.
Oh, yeah. Without Paris.
They have a long tradition of that.
Sure. Yeah. Jazz and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of black expatriates that just, you know, stayed in Paris so they could play music. You know, jazz music, like, there's so much of that shit there.
Yeah.
There's an interesting story, I'll show it to you after, by Terry Southern. It's funny. But, all right, so then what happens? You write for 3 years, and how do you get the on-camera shot?
I did a couple of stand-in stuffs at 30 Rock, just like, they were just like, oh, do this bit, and it was fine. I think the thing that really stood out was, like, there was a table read where Tracy couldn't make it, because he was having kidney
How'd you get along with
troubles.
Tracy?
I liked him a lot. He's just, you know, he's crazy, man. He's
crazy.
Fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And like, you know, sometimes
It's so funny though.
And the great thing about it is just like, I kind of like the way Tina treats him, because she's like, Tracy knows that people are like, oh, it's Tracy, give him a pat. She's like, no, fuck that. Like, Tracy, she's like, you're a grown man. I'm gonna treat you like a fucking grown man.
She would
like,
say that?
Yeah, I mean, like, well,
that was the attitude?
I mean, that was the attitude. And like, it is like, yeah, like, a lot of people, she's the most not racist person ever. Because I feel like a lot of people, like, and Tracy uses this. That's the thing. Tracy's aware. Like, he's not dumb. He's aware. He's like, I'm gonna act crazy and like have this whole black thing going. Yeah. And white people will be like, like that kind of thing. And Tina's like, fuck that. Like, she's like, no, you're a grown man. And like, you know, I think
she's also very astute at seeing what people's strengths are. I think she knows how to write for him.
She definitely got him.
Yeah.
Like, I think him and Andrew Steele, her and Andrew Steele got him and got his voice and understood why he was funny. And I love Tracy. I thought he was really good. He does physical bits.
Yeah.
Like, I've never, like, that whole patting the head, like that thing that like your mom does when she has cornrows. Like, I would see that and be like, oh my God. You know, like, I was like, holy, that was such a language I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
But he does physical bits like no other, and he really got the comedy of the stuff, you know, that we were writing.
And he's not afraid to be sort of the brunt of the joke, which is, that's a powerful comedy place.
Yeah.
to be able to be a little humiliated.
Yeah, he's fine with that.
Yeah, he's hilarious. I've you know, when I used to see him before he did SNL or anything, he was anytime he'd step into a situation, you're like, oh, now we're on Planet Tracy. I know, where's this gonna go? What's gonna happen?
Because you know it's not gonna end. Like it's always, it's always.
You're always gonna lose your footing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you did a few on camera bits,
and I did. It was a table read where Tracy couldn't make it. So I stood in and I did my Tracy impression, and Marcy Klein was there.
Yeah,
and she was like,
Marcy Klein is a producer of SNL, and been around forever.
Yeah, and she was like, that was good, and then she was like, you should audition for SNL, and I was like, okay. So I auditioned twice while I was still on 30 Rock, and also the film that Derek made called Mystery Team went to Sundance that year too.
Right.
So a lot of stuff was happening for me. Not writing wise. And the thing about 30 Rock and writing in general, like I've never seen it any other way, maybe because I've just been on shows with like anal people, but like you're there all the time.
Yeah.
Like I just felt like, it was just, it takes everything out of you.
Yeah.
Everything. Like my I was with this girl I thought I was going to marry. That relationship went south. Like a lot of like people were having relationship problems. Like it's because you were always at 30 Rock.
Yeah, it's like being a doctor.
Yeah,
there's no going home.
There's no going home. You're on call.
Right.
Sometimes we would go home and get called like, oh, we're gonna meet up at Tina's. You go there like late at night, stay there until like 4 a.m. So like it was a lot.
What was an emergency that needed that kind of treatment? Like a censor had a problem, or they had to rework a script, or what?
Like usually it was just kind of like. The table read went bad.
Oh, right.
Like
so you had to fix it.
You have to fix it. Sometimes start off from, page 1 and just fix it together. And it was just like, oh, so we're just going to have a 25-hour day. And that would usually be it. And then, so all that stuff was happening while this job that is taking everything was going on. And I kind of realized, I was like, this isn't fair. Yeah. Like this guy, Jack Bird, who wrote for the show, like his daughter had triplets.
Yeah.
And he was gone 2 days. Yeah. And I was asking for like 7 days. For like the Sundance thing, and like I was like, that's not fair,
Right.
So around the 3rd year, I was like, I just asked, I was like, I can I gracefully bow out just because I want to do other stuff.
You said that to Tina?
Yeah, I said that to Tina and Robert. I asked them if it was okay if I left, and they were like, go for it.
Yeah, well, because you knew that you had a bigger talent, that you could do more than right.
I mean, I didn't know. I honestly, I was just so in love with stand up. I just wanted to do stand-up.
Oh, really?
I was like, because that mass exodus everybody made of New York to L.A. a couple of years ago?
It happens every few years.
Yeah. So like, so everybody was just moving, and we were like, we should go to L.A. too. All the jobs are there. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to fucking quit 30 Rock, and then we'll go to L.A. and I'll start doing stand-up and then auditioning. And literally, after 2 weeks after I quit, the Russo brothers had seen Mystery Team, which was the movie that went to Sundance, and they were like, we might have a part for you in this community thing, so you should audition.
Wow.
And I got it. Yeah.
It's interesting because, out of these shows, there's certain types of shows like, 30 Rock's very specific. It's very comedy packed.
Yeah.
It's a show that's designed to be funny, and the characters are relatively broad but very grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And then, with Community, it's a similar thing. I've talked to Harmon, but, it's all about, laughs, but, and it's not about cheap laughs, but it's about going to any extreme to get the laugh.
Yeah.
And hopefully that extreme is creative as possible.
Right.
So you're sort of accustomed to that from coming from 30 Rock.
Yeah.
Now, were you also on the writing staff at Community? Do you write?
No, I don't write on Community. I could not write for that show.
Why?
It's fucking hard, man. Like, first of all, Dan Harmon is a genius, but
he is
but
actually.
Also like insane.
Yeah,
he insane in that he wants everything to be perfect, and like I don't know if I could live up. I don't want to. Like, he likes me, and I like him. I love him. Like, I think the vision that he has is really crazy. Like,
yeah.
And really specific, and I really enjoy that about people who create stuff. And I would never want to fall out of his good graces. That's like my biggest fear. Like, I feel like if I wrote for that show, I wouldn't be good enough.
Well, he's one of those guys that is so fucking hard on himself.
Yeah.
And he's so brilliant that everybody around him is just sort of like, I want to make him happy.
Yeah. I want him to like that's the thing. Like but that gets the best stuff out of you. Like I I work well under that too, but it's the stress. At 30 Rock, it was the same thing. Like they all run, I just think, the way Lauren runs shit.
Yeah.
Which is like, I'm not gonna say anything until I say something.
Right.
And so everybody's got this, hey daddy, I made this. Like, do you like it? Like everyone's got the same, and we were the same way with fucking Robert and Tina. Like,
well, what happened to those auditions at SNL? You didn't make the cut?
No, neither time.
And did you go talk to Lauren? Did you have that experience?
I talked to Lauren, yeah. Me and Bobby Moynihan, who ended up getting on the show, both like had the talk with Lauren before you get the call, like you're on,
right.
The same day.
Yeah.
And
what
Lauren,
did he say to you? So you're interesting.
It was a lot like that.
Yeah.
It was like about nothing.
Let me look at you.
He's like, it's kind of like in the Matrix where they go to see the Oracle,
yeah.
and she doesn't say much. She's just kind of like, you want a cookie? Yeah. I like your hair. Like she's doing something. You're like, am I doing it right?
I know. No. Yeah. Am I standing? Can I make my eyes do something different?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it certainly turned out all right for you. Now, how did you because I talked to Harmon about one of the things that really stands out for me on Community is that relationship you have with Pootie.
Yeah.
That that there's definitely some sort of dynamic you guys have created with each other. Does that and I know he writes for you too to work off each other a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah. I mean,
it's almost like a comedy team dynamic.
It's weird. We get each other really well. Like he's always like, I feel like we just have this kind of thing where like, I know what he's going to do.
You do.
I just do. Like, I just know what he's going to do and I know how he's going to react. And like, we kind of mess with each other while we're doing it. Like, it's just like it's
so fast. I mean, you guys are so fast.
I don't know why it works that way. I think we have similar backgrounds in a weird way. Like, he's like, everybody always thought he was Indian. I mean, and he speaks Polish. But cause he's half Polish. He's half Polish. And you see his soccer picture, he's the only like Indian kid. And like he kind of grew up the same way I did, where it's like, oh, I feel alone. Yeah. But I'm also growing up in this extremely Polish, extremely white thing as the only Indian kid. And I think we just kind of bonded immediately of just like, oh, we're kind of the in and the out. Like we always joke about how I was like, aren't you glad you're on the show? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm on my 5th Sanjay. Like, he's played 5 Sanjay. Like, all the people like, oh, Indian guy, Sanjay. He's like, I'm on my 5th Sanjay. And I was like, do you know how hard it is for people not to like want to, like, in everything I did up until like, and I thought this was really interesting too. Every role I've gotten thus far was always written for a white guy. Community role, Mr.
Really?
Teen, like always. Like, but like, I never got the black roles because I just wasn't black enough.
Do you never went and blacked it up?
I couldn't do it. There was an audition. I don't want to say for what movie, but there was an audition that came up, and the guy really liked me.
Yeah.
I think really liked. And they were all like excited. Oh, you're gonna be in this movie. And it was a big movie, and I could tell what he wanted me to do for the part.
Yeah, but he wasn't quite.
He was like, "I'll play it like like that," and I was just like, "I know what you want me to do. I can't do it." And,
was it a principal thing?
A principal role?
No, was it on principle you wouldn't do it? On personal principle?
Kind of both. Kind of like, I don't really know how to do that, but I can pretend to do it a little bit, but like but I'd feel like that wouldn't be fair. Cause then I'll just start doing that for other stuff and like.
You'd be typecast.
Yeah, I'd be typecast, but also I wouldn't be doing it well.
Right.
Like there's other black guys that do it really well and don't have to pretend. Why fucking... This is like, yeah.
Get a real black guy.
Get a real black guy. Seriously, why do that? Why make fake cheese and be real cheese? Like,
oh, that's hilarious. That's funny. So, all right, now, okay, let's just talk briefly about this. I know we talked about it before, but the Spider-Man thing, you sort of referenced it. Yeah. But there was this grassroots campaign to make you the new Spider-Man. Was that ever real? Did it ever have any traction? Was there any legs?
Yeah. It was scary for a moment.
But it started out of nowhere, right?
It started out of nowhere. Somebody just forwarded me this, I think it's called IO9, blog where they were like, oh, maybe Spider-Man could be a different race in this new one. It would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And they forwarded it to me, and somebody put in the comments a big picture of me. So I tweeted it, and I was like, I want to be the next Spider-Man. It's kind of like a joke, like, this would be cool. But it just, I think it was honestly like a slow news day. Like, it just trended immediately, and everybody was like really excited for some reason. And then, like, that following Monday, I remember I was in Canada doing press for Community.
Yeah.
And I was getting all these phone calls, and it was on the front page of Yahoo, and the, like, head of CAA was like, who the fuck is Donald Glover? And I was like, shit. And then, like, yeah, Sony called. Like, it was, like, crazy. Yeah, it was really weird for a second.
Was it ever a possibility?
I mean, the fact that we were talking Sony, like, I was like, oh. But when it got to that point, like, I didn't want to, like, that's the thing, like, I wish I had had the balls to really, honestly, like, now when I look back, I wish I had had the balls to be like, yeah,
I'm
and
ready.
if you don't, like, this will be, I'll make it a thing.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that. I was just like, cause I felt like it would be a statement again. Like, it'd be this statement that I wasn't I wasn't saying, like, Spider-Man has to be black. I was saying, like, isn't that cool? And it's a possibility. Like, I wouldn't want Batman to be black.
Right.
It really wouldn't make sense to me. It was like, oh, rich money family being black. It was kind of weird. I wouldn't want Thor to be black.
Yeah.
But I was like, Spider-Man makes so much sense being black.
Yeah.
Like, he's a nerdy kid, and I feel like the only nerdy kids who really still get picked on are black nerdy ones, or Mexican, like, minority nerdy ones.
Right.
He's in New York. He's poor. His parents have died.
Yeah.
I felt like that superhero, and he's covered from head to toe.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know he was black.
You made a case in your mind.
Yeah, I was like, this is all fucking makes sense.
You did the Black Spider-Man manifesto. You were ready to show up at Sony.
At Sony, I was like, here's all the points.
I've done the research.
And so it just kind of became a thing. But, like, man, the weird backlash that came from that was just, like, intense. I just didn't I was not expecting
the viral element of it.
Well, the viral element, but also just, like, the hate mail and shit. Like, I just did not expect.
You got hate mail?
Yeah, I got, like, hate Twitters. Like, somebody created a Twitter, and, like, I had to block them only because, like, I was like, it was so much of my thing. I just didn't want to see it.
Like, fuck you, Spider-Man's not black.
It was like, Spider-Man's not black, you fucking nigger. If you take it, I'll kill you. If you take that role, like,
get out.
Yeah, for real. I was like, you guys, he's made up. Like, I was like, it's a fictional character, and, like, this is all, like, just talk. Like, these are just nerds talking, but, like, literally, like, I'll kill you.
That was sad. It's sad because it was probably a white racist nerd.
Yeah.
Like, see, that's the weird thing that we forget about the whole nerd culture is that there's still prejudice and weirdness in
this thing where the whole point of fantasy is that they're trying to get away from what we live every day.
Yeah. Oh, racist nerds.
Racist nerds.
Damn it.
I mean, but it kind of brought up a whole bunch of shit where I was, like, looking over, like, all that stuff, like the race trading with a bunch of, like, nerd stuff and, like, Avatar and the Prince of Persia and, like, all that stuff. Like, yeah.
Like, how did it change your mind about that?
Like, Avatar was made because the guy was like, Asians don't have a superhero. Let's make them, and it became wildly popular. And when they made the movie, all of them were white except for the villain.
Right.
And it was just kind of like this, it's kind of like, that's kind of weird. And the same thing with, like, Prince of Persia, guys playing white, and I get it. I think a lot of people think that, like, black people are, like, minorities are just immediately like, that's wrong, and they don't get, like, I get it. Like, I understand why Sony wouldn't make a black Spider-Man. It probably wouldn't make as much money. Like, if Will Smith was like, I want to be Spider-Man, they probably would have said yes, because they would have made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
It's all about money for most. All that shit runs back to money. It's never about really, like, I hate black people just on the principle they're black. It's usually like, I hate black people because they're poor.
Right. And didn't Damon Wayans do it, like, a superhero movie? Like,
oh yeah, like he did Blank Man, and then there was Meteor Man. There was a whole, like, slew of them.
And then Will did do that superhero movie.
Yeah, Hancock.
Hancock, which is actually a pretty good movie.
I liked them. I was super stoked for it. I was a little disappointed, but I really. Because I'm such a Will Smith fan, but also, like, I like that director a lot. He did Friday Night Lights, and I was so
I know that guy.
It was a little weird, but I thought the idea was so great.
Yeah, I mean, I caught it, like, by surprise. Like, I wasn't psyched to see it or anything, but it was on, and I watched it, and I'm like, this is better than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of knew Pete Berg when we were younger, and he does some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
So, now, where's the music at right now? You do sing.
I do sing in the songs and stuff like that, and I honestly, I would call it just, like, a black rock record.
Okay.
It's, like, super, like, it's not really, I guess what people would call, like, mainstream rap. Like, it's just, I feel like it's a lot about what we've been talking about. It's a lot about race and growing up and, like, what really, the name of the album's Camp. Mm-hmm. And the reason I called it that, there's a lot of reasons, but one of them was just, like, I wanted to name it something that's the farthest away from the streets, because, like, I just can't be street.
Yeah.
I don't know how. So, like,
Is there a song on there called that? I just can't be street.
I can't be street.
You better write that song.
I know, I gotta do that. And then sell it to Sesame Street. It sounds like
Did
like
you put any were there any Kraftwerk samples in there?
No samples. I wish I could have. I mean, but, like, it's a really cheap record. It's all, there's no samples.
Yeah.
Like it's all.
Do people still do that? They still do that.
Yeah.
But like Kraftwerk, man, it's so part of your, it's part of your roots.
I know. I like that. I like that sound, but I don't think I can sample them. I don't think I do it justice.
And you had an hour on Comedy Central?
Yeah.
But you haven't really recorded a comedy CD. You did the comedy special.
Yeah, that became a CD, but I've never done a CD flat out.
Wow, that's interesting. Do you have a following in that area?
In the music?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. I guess it's because I've been doing it a while. I've been like, oh, wow, there's an underground like following. So like it does. Yeah, I just got signed and it's going well.
Wow. You're doing it your own way, buddy. You didn't get to be Spider-Man, but you're certainly doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, it was great talking to you, man.
Thanks,
and
man.
You're doing great, and keep it up.
Thanks. I love the show. Thanks for having me on here.
Absolutely. That was my conversation with Donald Glover. What a sweet, intelligent, talented man he is. And I mean that honestly. And I hope you enjoyed that talk. All right. Let's see if we can, WTFpod.com, go do that. A lot of Christmas presents. A lot of merch. Fun stuff. JustCoffee.coop is available there. Get that WTF blend, and I get a little thing on the back end of that. A little taste. Kicking a few shekels, get the app, do the stuff. Okay? All right? Let's see. This isn't going to happen. Boomer! Boomy! Boomer, your audience awaits. Maybe I can do the round. It's not the same, is it? It's weird, actually. Okay. Bye.